Did the Texas political landscape just witness the rise of a future national star, or the ousting of a potential game-changer? Before we dive into this explosive Texas runoff, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in U.S. politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow. All right, let's get into it. In the heart of the Dallas area's newly redrawn 33rd District, a Democratic primary runoff has just wrapped up, and it was a barn burner. We saw former Representative Colin Allred emerge victorious, decisively knocking out the incumbent, Representative Julie Johnson. This wasn't just any election. It was a clash of two of the Democratic Party's brightest, most talked-about rising stars. And make no mistake, Allred's win here means he's virtually guaranteed to win the general election in what is a deep blue district. Now, both of these candidates came with serious credentials. Julie Johnson made history last year as the first openly LGBTQ representative elected in a southern state. That's a monumental achievement, and it positioned her as a significant figure. On the other side, Colin Allred boasts an impressive resume himself. He's a former NFL player, a three-term House representative, and he's even mounted two separate campaigns for the U.S. Senate. That's a lot of political capital and public recognition to bring to the table. So how did we get here? Well, when the Republican-controlled Texas legislature decided to redraw congressional districts last year, a move often seen as gerrymandering to their advantage, it reshaped the political playing field. For Colin Allred, this redrawing created an opportunity. He decided to pull out of his U.S. Senate bid, a race he'd been preparing for, and instead pivot back to the House, specifically targeting this newly configured 33rd District. And who was already representing a significant portion of that district? Julie Johnson, the very member who had replaced him in Congress after he left to run for the Senate. This created a unique situation, a sitting member of Congress facing off against the former occupant of a similar seat, all within the same party. The districts they previously represented now overlap, with each candidate having represented about a third of the new 33rd District. This race quickly morphed into something of a proxy fight for the larger March Senate primary. You had key Democratic figures picking sides. State Representative James Tallarico, the Democratic nominee for a different Senate seat, threw his support behind Julie Johnson. On the other side, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a prominent voice in Texas Democratic politics, endorsed Colin Allred and even campaigned with him in the final days leading up to the vote. It shows you the internal dynamics at play within the Texas Democratic Party. It's worth remembering Allred's recent political journey. He ran for the Senate in 2024, challenging Senator Ted Cruz, and ultimately lost that race. Then, he announced he was running for Senate again in 2026, before abruptly dropping out and making his move for this House seat. This back and forth shows a politician who is clearly ambitious and willing to adapt his strategy based on political opportunities. Allred's campaign strategy was notably focused on an anti-corruption message. He attempted to frame this race as a referendum on ethics in politics, launching pointed attacks against Johnson's stock trading activities and the corporate PAC donations she received. This is a common tactic in politics, aiming to paint an opponent as being too close to special interests. Allred also clearly benefited from a significant name identification advantage. He had already won the March primary by a substantial margin, and importantly, the other two primary candidates who didn't make it to this runoff both endorsed him. That consolidated support within the party is a huge asset. So what does this mean? For the Democratic Party in Texas, it means they have a candidate in Colin Allred who is battle-tested, having run statewide, and now having won a competitive primary in a key district. He's an ex-NFL player, which gives him a unique public persona, and he's proven he can win in a competitive environment. However, the fact that this was such a contentious primary, with sharp attacks and clear divisions, does raise questions about party unity moving forward. For Julie Johnson, this is a significant setback. She was seen as a rising star, a trailblazer, and her loss, especially in a district considered a lock for Democrats, will undoubtedly be a disappointment for her supporters and for those who champion LGBTQ representation. The national implications are about the messaging within the Democratic Party. Is it a party that rewards incumbents or one that favors challengers with new ideas, even if those challengers have a complex electoral history? And how will the focus on corporate PACs and stock trading play out in broader electoral strategies across the country? Now, I want to hear from you. Allred ran on an anti-corruption platform, attacking Johnson's financial dealings. Do you think this is an effective strategy for Democrats in the current political climate, or does it risk alienating potential allies and donors? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. Colin Allred has secured his path to Congress. The question now is, what impact will he have in Washington? We'll be watching.